Picture the modern workplace. A 33-year-old manager, let's call her Sarah, starts her day with back-to-back Zoom calls, sips her third cold brew while navigating a client crisis, and then pivots to coach her newest team member, a 22-year-old who communicates almost exclusively in memes that are frankly works of art. On the surface, they're both part of the younger generations, but when millennials start managing Gen Z, the fault lines don't just appear, they become canyons. Gen Z employee, my boss is only like 32, but sometimes it feels like we're speaking different languages. They just don't get it. Millennial manager, I thought I understood Gen Z. I used TikTok. Then I had to manage a team of them. It's a whole different world. For the first time in modern history, a generation that was defined by being the new kids on the block is now in charge of the newest kids on the block. They are separated by less than a decade, but by an entire universe of economic, technological, and cultural experiences. This isn't just another generational gap. It's a paradox of proximity. So how can the next generation of leaders effectively understand and lead the generation right behind them when both are still figuring it all out? 1. From peer to superior, the great millennial promotion. It happened almost overnight. For years, millennials were the workplace disruptors, the avocado toast-eating, job-hopping enigmas that older generations struggled to understand. But now many are in their 30s and early 40s. They've climbed the ladder. They've become the boss. And their direct reports, Gen Z. Take Mark, a 33-year-old marketing director. He told us, "It's surreal. I vividly remember being the 22-year-old intern trying to prove myself. Now I manage a team member who was born in 2002. The biggest difference isn't age, it's the speed of expectation. I was taught to wait my turn. They expect to make an impact on day one." This isn't just a feeling, it's a fundamental shift. Millennials born between 1981 and 1996 were shaped by the dial-up to broadband transition and the economic trauma of the 2008 financial crisis. They learned to be resilient, resourceful, and often to equate long hours with job security. Gen Z, born after 1997, never knew a world without Wi-Fi. The pandemic defined their formative years' global social justice movements and saw millennial burnout firsthand. They entered the workforce not with caution, but with a clear set of non-negotiables: purpose, flexibility, and mental well-being. So, what happens when the generation taught to pay their dues manages the generation that asks, why do these dues exist in the first place? The answer often is unintended clashes. 2. Unintended clashes, the high cost of misunderstanding. Let's look at a story that's becoming alarmingly common. A millennial manager, we'll call her Chloe, was thrilled with her new Gen Z hire, Liam. He was bright, tech-savvy, and full of ideas. Chloe, remembering her early career, decided the best way to help him grow was to give him challenging projects and the autonomy to figure them out. She thought she was empowering him. 3 months later, Liam quit. In his exit interview, he said he didn't see development opportunities and felt neglected. Chloe was floored. "I thought giving him a lot of work would show I trusted him," she said. "I thought he'd learn by doing just like I did, but he said he felt like he was thrown in the deep end with no life raft." This story is a perfect storm of good intentions and bad communication, and it's backed by data. The core of the issue lies in a fundamental misunderstanding of what support and development mean to each generation. Research shows that Gen Z craves consistent, structured guidance. Some studies indicate that as many as 4 in 10 want daily or near-daily interaction with their manager. They're not looking for a micromanager. They're looking for a coach. Meanwhile, many millennial managers' products of a figure-it-out-yourself work culture believe that empowerment means trusting their team to work independently. They see autonomy as a sign of respect. Gen Z often interprets that same autonomy as a lack of guidance. This disconnect is expensive. It leads to high turnover, with nearly 60% of Gen Z planning to leave their jobs within 2 years, often citing a lack of development opportunities or a toxic culture born from miscommunication. For millennial managers, this isn't just a management challenge. It's a retention crisis hiding in plain sight. 3. Understanding to lead from hard work to smart work. So how do you bridge this gap? According to leadership experts, it starts with a seismic shift in mindset. Bruce Mayhew, a Toronto-based executive coach, emphasizes that leading Gen Z requires moving from a directive style to a supportive, empathetic one. He explains, millennials were trained to value hard work, which often translated to being visible and putting in long hours. They survived the recession by proving their dedication through sheer effort. Gen Z, however, values smart work. They prioritize efficiency, impact, and meaning. If they can get the same result in 6 hours that a millennial took 10 to achieve, they see the extra 4 hours as inefficient, not impressive. This is where we need to introduce a critical concept for any modern leader: psychological safety. Coined by Harvard Business School professor Amy Edmondson, it's the belief that you won't be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. For a generation entering the workforce with less real-world job experience and statistically higher levels of anxiety, psychological safety isn't a nice to have. It's the essential foundation for them to perform. Without it, they won't ask the stupid question that prevents a big mistake. They won't challenge a process that could be improved. They won't admit they're struggling until it's too late. The millennial manager who views a Gen Z employee's questions as a lack of initiative is missing the point. The employee isn't asking for the answer. They're testing the waters. They're asking, is it safe to learn here? The manager's response to that question will define the entire relationship. 4. Learning to lead the next generation, the coach-in-chief. So what does this new style of leadership look like in practice? Let's go back to Chloe, the manager who lost her star Gen Z employee. After that painful experience, she transformed her approach. She went from managing by deadline to managing by goals and emotions. Here's what she did. First, she established weekly mandatory one-on-one check-ins with every member of her team. But these weren't status updates. She explains, the first rule is I listen more than I talk. I start every meeting by asking, what was a win for you this week, and what's one challenge you're facing where you could use support? This changes the dynamic from, what have you done for me, to, how can I help you succeed? This approach is about being a coach, not a boss. A boss gives orders, a coach asks questions and develops potential. Chloe also implemented a simple version of OKRs, which stands for objectives and key results. It's a goal-setting framework that connects daily tasks to the company's bigger mission. The objective is the inspirational why, the big goal they're all working toward. The key results are the measurable how, the specific quantifiable steps to get there. This framework is a game changer for Gen Z. The objective provides the purpose they crave, while the key results provide the structure and clarity they need. One of Chloe's current Gen Z team members told us, my old boss just gave me a list of tasks. With Chloe, I know our team's objective is to increase brand trust with younger audiences. And my key result is to grow our TikTok engagement by 15%. Now my work feels like it matters. I feel guided, not controlled. 5. The symbiotic workplace flexibility and two-way coaching. But the evolution doesn't stop with the manager. The most innovative companies are realizing that the millennial Gen Z dynamic isn't a problem to be solved, but an opportunity to be harnessed. The key, turning the traditional hierarchy on its head. Enter reverse mentorship. This is a structured program where junior employees, Gen Z, officially mentor senior leaders on topics where they are the experts, new technology, social media trends, and shifting cultural values. Imagine this. On Monday, a 23-year-old social media coordinator teaches her 35-year-old director how to create a genuinely funny, non-cringy TikTok video. On Friday, that same director coaches the coordinator on how to build a 5-year strategic plan and present it to executives. Who wins? Everybody. The millennial manager closes their digital skill gap and gets a real-time pulse on the next generation of consumers and employees. The Gen Z employee feels seen, valued, and empowered, which is a massive driver of loyalty and retention. This fosters a culture of two-way coaching where knowledge flows not like a waterfall from the top down, but like a network in all directions. It breaks down silos and proves that in the modern workplace, everyone is both a teacher and a student. 6. Conclusion, the great handoff. The relationship between millennial managers and Gen Z employees is one of the most fascinating and critical dynamics in the workplace today. It's a story of two generations shaped by vastly different worlds who are now tasked with building the future together. The friction is real. It's born from a millennial survival instinct clashing with a Gen Z demand for a healthier way of working, but the opportunity is even more real. This isn't just a challenge, it's a catalyst. Gen Z is forcing millennial leaders to evolve to become more empathetic, more flexible, and more human-centric. They are pushing organizations to abandon outdated models of paying your dues and hustle culture in favor of purpose, balance, and psychological safety. When millennials learn to lead with the empathy they always wished their bosses had, and when Gen Z learns to communicate their expectations with clarity and understand the pressures their young managers face, something incredible happens. It stops being a conflict. It becomes a partnership, and both generations, along with the companies they work for, grow stronger. Future of work isn't about one generation adapting to another. It's about creating a culture where the best ideas, no matter who they come from, can rise to the top. It's about building a workplace that is not only more productive, but also more human. So now we want to hear from you. Are you a millennial boss navigating this new landscape, or a Gen Z employee with experiences to share? What has your journey managing or being managed been like? Comment below and share your perspectives. We read every single one. And if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to the GenShift channel. You won't want to miss our next episode.